Namaste, everyone. Michele Granberg here. Welcome to another episode of Positive Energy, spotlighting empathy and compassion for both humans and animals. On this show, we're featuring exotic animals and the people who save them. Wild Exotics Animal Rescue provides connections with forever homes for unwanted exotic pets. Stay tuned to discover how you can help scaly, feathery, and furry beings. Positive Energy starts right now. Welcome to Brittany Riggs from Wild Exotics Animal Rescue to Positive Energy.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here with all my friends.
So tell us about Wild Exotics Rescue.
So Wild Exotics Animal Rescue is a small New Jersey business. We are currently not a 501c3, we're not a nonprofit, perhaps one day, but right now we create and sell animal-themed apparel to help us raise money to rescue animals and bring them to other sanctuaries and give them asylum.
Love it. And who have you brought, our first guest, with you today?
So this is Persephone. She is a boa constrictor imperator. She's been with me for about a year and a half. She's a very strong girl, as you can see. We got her from a very unfortunate situation where the parents moved away and left her at home with the children who were way too scared to take care of her, even though she's a pretty sweet snake most of the time. And they didn't feed her, so she was way too skinny and she was living in squalor, unfortunately.
So you rescued her. Yeah, and she's doing well now.
Yeah, so while she is sweet 95% of the time, another 5% she does have behavioral issues from being so neglected. And we do work with her, and we have an exotic vet specialist that also works with her on that too.
So what do you want to tell people about boa constrictors? Because I know people might be afraid of boa constrictors.
Yeah.
You know, what are some of the misconceptions about them, or what do you want people to know about them?
Well, when you see boa constrictors in pet stores, they are usually these itty-bitty 5-inch babies. And most people don't realize they get very big. Like Persephone is not done growing by any means. She will get much bigger. And when they get to this size, even a little bit smaller, people look to rehome them. So I would like people to know that they don't stay small and cute. Every animal grows up.
Yeah. So would you maybe not recommend people have them as pets, or does it depend?
I think if somebody wants a bigger snake like this as a pet, they should look to rescue, because there is always a larger snake like this up for rescue somewhere for that reason. And to do your research. Definitely do your research.
And where were they native to originally, do you know? Not this country, I imagine.
No, not this country. They are more tropical snakes.
So what is a tip for caring for a snake in general that you'd like to offer?
Check your husbandry. Husbandry is the way that you take care of an animal in regards to reptiles, more so the way that you take care of an animal. And most people will slap them in a teeny tiny glass tank with a red light and no humidity and no heat, and that's just not okay. So definitely work on your husbandry.
So is she staying with you as a forever home, or is she up for adoption?
No, she will be with me as a forever home, just because the 5% of the time that she does have behavioral issues, it's just safest that she's with someone that understands.
So what she's doing right now, just kind of continually wrapping around you, why is that? For warmth? Is that just because they love to keep moving? So
they do love warmth, and I am pretty warm, but they will wrap around like this if it's a pull or if it's my leg, just because that's just how they move. They love to be in tight spaces and be held tight, and holding onto my leg tight like this is like a natural thing.
So have you always loved snakes? I mean, what do you love about snakes? I
love
you want other people to fall in love with snakes.
Yeah, I love that I love them, because many people don't love them, and many people are very scared of them for no reason other than they think that they're some slimy, wet creatures as depicted in movies, when in reality that's not the case. So I just love to love them.
You are beautiful. And so we're going to stop and bring on another guest.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
So cool. Okay, so now we have Thomas the king snake with us. So Brittany, tell us Thomas's story.
So Thomas the king snake comes from a very sad situation. As you can see, he does have some issues with his mobility, with keeping his head up, holding his body weight, and he's also covered in very deep, dark black burns. And we're not exactly sure how old he is. We're not sure why he was so severely neglected and abused. But we've been working with him for, I want to say, about 2 months now to help him gain some weight. And we're trying to see if his mobility issues are from the deep burns possibly affecting his spine and causing neurological issues, or him just being so severely malnourished that he has no muscle, and that's why he can't hold himself up. But he's a very sad case and a very sweet boy. So we're giving him a lot of TLC 24/7, and we love him. He's great.
Yeah, it's sad that happened, of course, and we want people to know that all animals feel pain, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, do snakes feel pain differently?
Yes. No, not differently, but they do feel pain.
But like all other animals.
Yeah.
And how do they react when they're in pain? Like if a snake is in pain, how would we know?
They would normally, like, very fast, like, thrash away. Like, if I were to take a needle and give him an injection, he would try to thrash away. So
and
they feel pain.
Would we find king snakes in New Jersey or not really?
No, not really.
So what's your hope for Thomas? And is he going to be with you forever?
Yeah.
Or is he going to be adopted by a family?
No, won't be adopted out. He will be with me forever because he is such a severe neglect case, and he will need very, very hard one-on-one care for a very long time. So he won't be adopted out, and he'll stay with me for the remainder of his life. And I'm hoping he will gain weight and get some mobility back. And we're just going to keep reevaluating every couple months.
So do snakes like to be with other snakes, or does it depend if they have to be a bonded pair like with some other animals?
Most species of snakes are solitary animals. King snakes even more so, because if you put them with another snake, they will eat that other snake. King snakes are notorious for trying to eat themselves and others.
What do you feed him, though?
Right now, he gets small frozen thawed mice, and sometimes I do have to inject the mice after they're thawed out with water to help him keep up his hydration levels.
So do you get a lot of people reaching out to you with this stories similar to Thomas's stories, where there's abuse or neglect or...
He's my first one that has had such a heavy neglect story, but we do get stories of people being like, my snake hasn't eaten in 6 months, I'm so scared to go near them. Or my cousin has this snake that they want to get rid of, and if they can't get rid of them, they're going to euthanize them. So every so often we do get bad cases like this.
Do you get a lot of phone calls in general for surrenders or people reporting others for rescuing?
Because we are so new, our amount of phone calls isn't so high, but I'm anticipating that as our name gets out there, we will get way more calls, especially because not many places do exotics and not many places do snakes.
I think people really need to know that you exist, that there's an option. Otherwise, you're right, people will just put them outside the door sometimes.
And that happens. That totally happens.
And they won't survive in the wild.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because this isn't the correct climate. This isn't what they would be used to if they did live in their proper habitat. So putting an animal outside is a death sentence, unfortunately.
Absolutely. We want people to know that. So Thomas, thank you. You're very handsome, and we wish you the very best in life. You're in the right hands and in the right place. So thanks for bringing him on. So we're going to stop, and we're going to bring on our next guest.
Yes. Yay.
All right. Now, Positive Energy is welcoming Jupiter the corn snake. Look at those, the color. Red eyes? Like...
Yeah, so Jupiter is going to
Beautiful.
go into a shed very soon. So he's actually much more vibrantly colored. He's kind of dull right now because he's due for a shed probably within the next couple days. His eyes are an orangey red. He's really great. I love him. He came to me with Thomas the corn snake that came in at the same time. And originally over the phone, the person that was surrendering them told me that he was giving away 2 king snakes that need to be rehomed. So I'm expecting 2 king snakes. And Jupiter's a corn snake. So no problem, you know, I was still willing to take him in, no problem at all. And it's still a big question to us why Jupiter came in such amazing health and Thomas didn't. So Jupiter is also very old. Jupiter is in his 20s, and that is usually end of life for corn snakes in their late 20s. but he is so spry, and I don't think he's going to go out any day soon.
I love that. How can you tell how old a snake is if you don't know? Is there any way?
If you don't know, it's more so of like you got to look at how long they are, maybe see how much they weigh, like a guessing game, but no, there's really no way to know.
And why do snakes shed their skin?
So they can grow a little bit longer. Every time a snake sheds their skin, they gain a little bit more weight, they grow wider, and they grow longer.
So most of the time people get snakes in pet stores, and they still have snakes in pet stores. I guess they come from breeders, but what's your thoughts on snakes that come from pet stores?
My thoughts on snakes that come from pet stores is not too favorable, because anyone can go into PetSmart or Petco and buy a snake and take it home and put it in a 5-gallon glass terrarium for their whole lives and not feed them, not give them the correct husbandry. So anyone can buy any animal from a pet store and just neglect them. And pet stores don't always all the time give the correct caretaking information, which then turns into neglect situations, which is where rescues like I come in. So I'm not too favorable on selling snakes in pet stores.
Yeah, you want to sort of break that cycle.
Yes.
Right? So as someone who rescues, what's your sort of process when someone does want to adopt, wants to home an animal?
Like rehome it to me or take it home with them?
Take it home with them.
So I actually don't do that yet. I when it comes to me wanting to disperse animals, I usually give them off to sanctuaries and other rescues.
Gotcha.
Because I'm not that far yet where I want to adopt out animals, so they either seek asylum with me or they transport to another sanctuary.
So your primary role is fostering, caring, educating,
yes,
connecting to the sanctuaries. So yeah, so I can see how beautiful he really is. And what do you want people to know about snakes like this?
To do your research. Any snake that you get, every single snake is going to have different needs. Different size enclosures, different types of humidity, like different levels of humidity, different levels of heat. So no matter the snake, I just really urge everyone to do your research, and that's what I want everyone to know, is to do your research.
And what types of enclosures do you have?
So
at your home where they live with you.
I am a big fan of PVC enclosures because they do hold in the humidity and they come in all different sizes. So right now I've been on the lookout for more PVC enclosures so I can transport them from their front opening big glass terrariums to PVC enclosures, because I think it's more attractive and I think it's better for them.
Very, very nice. Love it. Well, thank you for bringing Jupiter onto the show. Thank you, Jupiter, for being here. Have a very happy life. All right, so now we have Popcorn the gecko. Tell us about his story.
Yeah, so Popcorn is a leopard gecko who's been with me for about 9 months. I've been working with another sanctuary to rehabilitate him. He's been doing really well so far. Unfortunately, how we got him was his owner had passed away and the landlord had found Popcorn the gecko in the house a couple weeks after the owner passed away. So he was surrendered to another sanctuary, and that sanctuary asked me to be his caretaker, and I was like, of course I will, no problem. So he's gained a lot of weight. He's gone through a couple nice sheds. He is missing a couple digits on his toes, but it doesn't seem to faze him. He's a really happy guy. He loves worms so much. That's his happy food.
I was going to ask you, what does he eat? So live worms?
Yes.
That's what he would eat in the wild.
Yeah, leopard geckos don't eat any vegetables, no fruits, nothing like that. They are primarily meat eaters. So worms are his go-to. And crickets, big fan of crickets.
The crickets and the worms would love to hear that. But anyway, does he drink a lot? Does he?
A moderate amount. They're not really big drinkers.
Do they swim, geckos?
He doesn't like swimming. He does spend a lot of his time in his hide. He has 3 hides. He has a hot hide, a cool hide, and a moist hide. So he mostly goes back and forth between his moist hide and his warm hide.
When you say a hide, you mean like in their enclosure?
Yeah.
Places to hide?
Correct. Yeah. In his enclosure, he has different little caves that he can go in, like houses, caves.
So does he spend most of his time hiding? Does he crawl a lot, or does he sleep a lot?
He spends most of his time hiding. I will catch him sometimes climbing to like the highest point in his enclosure, and I'm like, whoa, Popcorn, like that's out of the ordinary. So he does get a little rowdy sometimes. I don't know how old he is, but he's pretty spry.
How does he respond to you?
He's normally pretty okay. If I have a worm, he's definitely okay. If I'm just, holding him like I am now and talking to you, it can be a hit or miss. He might be like, hey, please leave me alone. Or he's like, yeah, I'll just hang out with you.
So do geckos make any sound? Do they have a sound that they make, or not really?
They can. Some of them will make a high-pitched squeal. He doesn't for some reason, but other geckos do, definitely. He's not very vocal.
So in terms of rescuing and surrendering, I understand that sometimes people will just post like on Craigslist that they have an animal they're just wanting to sort of get rid of or sell. Do you encounter that quite a lot? And do you look there for rescuing?
So mostly I see a lot of, I'm giving away this animal for free on Facebook. And I'm always the first one to jump in and be like, hey, let me take that animal. I run Wild Exotics Animal Rescue. They will be really fine with me. They'll receive lots of love. And I do that because when people give animals away for free, anyone can take them, and they end up most of the time in not such great situations, because when people don't have to pay, they will just take.
Yeah. So why do you think that happens so much? I mean, do you think there are people who are just sort of breeding them and selling them, or it's just not good for them? So
that is definitely a thing that I see, people breeding them and selling them and having too many and just wanting to give them away. But most of the time it is owners who are like, I bought this animal, I don't want to take care of them anymore, I don't know anything about the animal, take it for free. And it's unfortunate how much I see that online.
Yeah. So if someone is really interested or into geckos, what would you say to them? What would you recommend would be the first thing they need to know?
For leopard geckos, I would say don't house them together. For many reptiles, don't house them together.
In the same enclosure?
Correct.
Why?
Depending on the reptile, they can fight very much. He's a little bit of a biter sometimes, so I don't doubt that he would try and run after another gecko and bite them. A lot of the times they find it to be like competition for food because they don't know they're in captivity. They have no idea.
All right, Popcorn, I don't know, you look like a little dinosaur and you're handsome, and we wish you the best. Thanks for coming on Positive Energy. And we have another guest. Okay, so now we have Chili the chinchilla with us. So what is Chili's backstory?
So Chili was being surrendered to passerbys in a parking lot of an animal sanctuary that I worked at a couple years ago. And that was happening because the sanctuary at the time wasn't taking chinchillas. And they were like, oh, I'm so sorry. Perhaps you can surrender them somewhere else. We don't take in small exotics like that. So after passerbys refused to take the chinchilla from this man, the sanctuary was like, you know what, just give him to us. We will do our best to find him a home. And I immediately took him.
So are chinchillas related to other animals? Are they related to guinea pigs or gerbils, or they're just sort of their own breed?
Yeah, they're sort of their own breed. These are domesticated chinchillas. Wild chinchillas do exist in the Andes Mountains. They're the closest relative to a chinchilla just because these guys are the domesticated kind.
And sadly, they're still used for coats, aren't they?
Very sadly. I think that
they're still bred on farms.
Oh, yeah.
Fur farms.
Yeah, fur farms are a big thing with chinchillas. And I would like to think that if the people that bred and unfortunately killed them for their fur knew that these were individuals that had very different personalities, and they're very, very intelligent and sweet for the most part, I would hope that they would not want to do this anymore, kill them for coats.
So what is his care like? Is he easy to care for, not easy to care for? What do you need to be careful of when caring for a chinchilla?
So when caring for a chinchilla, I would recommend watching their weight. If they gain too much weight, they can begin to develop foot sores, so daily exercise is very important. Chinchillas also cannot get wet. They bathe in lava ash. It's just a type of dust, and it goes into their very, very dense, thick fur, and it absorbs all the oils and dirt that's in there, and that's how they bathe. So never get your chinchilla wet, and make sure they get a lot of exercise.
So what do they eat?
So I feed them a majority of straw, like Timothy straw, and they eat oxbow pellets. They eat, I don't want to say vegetables because vegetables are not healthy for them, but it's like a vegetable oat type of pellet.
Ah, okay. So do they poop a lot?
Very much.
Very important question.
Yes.
They poop a lot. Like rabbits? Equal to rabbits? I know rabbits poop.
Maybe a little more than rabbits. It's a lot. So it's
a competition.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. They can control when they urinate. They can be litter box trained, but when it comes to their stool, they can't control it, and it comes out anytime, anywhere. And it's a lot. So if you have a chinchilla, you're going to be vacuuming every single day.
Got it. So pay attention. That's right.
Yeah.
You must be able to be okay with fur flying. Yes.
Yes.
Are they is he very affectionate? Are chinchillas, when they're domesticated, affectionate and like to be held, or does it depend?
Most of the time, I would say no, they're not that affectionate. But they do like to be pet. And when you pet them, they will sit there and be like, oh yeah, this is nice. And they won't move.
How long do they live?
They can live until their late 20s. So this guy's about 4. So I'm expecting to live a very long time with him by my side.
Aww. So what, through his eyes, what do you think life is like through Chili's eyes?
I think life is like a lot of taking naps, chewing a lot of wood, and eating lots of good snacks, healthy good snacks.
Does he like to eat all day long? Is that like his favorite
if I gave him treats,
activity?
If I gave him treats, he would eat all day long, but to keep him healthy, it's like a once in a while thing. But they do have free access to their pellets. They always have hay, always. One really important thing to know about chinchillas is you should always have hay on hand for them, because if they don't grind down their molars will continue to grow and it will puncture their gums.
Yipes. So are they very smart animals on the smart scale?
I mean, they know the name. If I call them, they'll come running.
Does he know you're... You have 2 others with you, right?
Yeah, I have a total of 3 chinchillas.
Adorbs. So... with your rescue, what other species of animals do you tend to rescue besides the folks you've brought with you today? Do you take birds in?
I have 1 bird. I might take in more. I might stop there. Just because birds are very messy animals.
Yeah.
And we give our bird so much love. She is so spoiled. But they're very messy.
So I don't know if you can even tell me this, but are there any funny stories you have from living with these wonderful, amazing wild animals? I mean, is there anything that just sort of people would be like, that's just sort of only can happen to you when you live with wild animals?
Yeah, okay. So I do keep the rodents and the snakes separated just for, prey-predator purposes. And I keep Persephone, the very large boa constrictor, next to my bed. And she got out one day, didn't know where she was tearing apart my entire room. And because she is a girl, I found her in a big pile of shoes. So I feel like that's something that would only happen to me.
That's kind of cool. So we want people to support you and to know that you exist. What do you need from the public? What would you like them to know about wild animal rescue, fostering, adopting, donating, and tell us a bit about your apparel.
Yeah, so I would say most of all, we always need contributions, and that can be from whether people come and visit us at the events that we do on weekends, because we do events all across New Jersey, to give contributions or come and help us out, run the booth, or especially the biggest thing that really helps us out is apparel purchases, because all the apparel that we sell, the money goes right back into the animals to help us save more and build better enclosures.
So you have a website.
Yes.
And you're on social media.
Correct.
So people can find you really easily.
Yeah, we're on Facebook, Instagram, and we have a website.
Okay, we're going to wrap up. In a final word or two?
My final words would be to always be a voice for the voiceless, whether the animal that you need to speak up for has scales or fur. Everything needs to be helped. Everyone needs to be helped. So always be a voice for the voiceless.
I love that. Be a voice for the voiceless. Thank you, Brittany, for all the wonderful work you're doing with these beautiful creatures. Thank you, Chili. We're wrapping up another enlightening show. Animals of all species are here with us, not for us. They have a birthright to live the life they choose. Please see the world through their eyes and act only to help, not to harm. Thank you, Monday Morning Flowers, for the beautiful floral arrangement. Thank you for watching. Check out MicheleGranberg.com, go vegan, and join me next time on Positive Energy.